Hey guys, today we are going to talk about developing a multimedia presentation. So if you will, go ahead and grab your notebook or a pencil, your notebook or a piece of paper and a pencil. We're going to take a few notes because we are going to have an exit ticket when we are done with this slideshow, and it would be easier for you if you took the notes down so that you didn't have to go back and rewatch this video. So the title of our notes today is Developing a Multimedia Presentation. And if you guys remember my rule, I do only require you guys to write down what is highlighted in yellow. So if it's highlighted in yellow, write it down. Normally, if we were in class, I would have you draw or type 2 things you already know about creating a presentation. But we're not in class, so go ahead and draw this in your notebook, or write 2 things that you already know about creating a presentation. So what is presentation software? Presentation software is a program used to create slideshows or multimedia presentations. And basically, multimedia means presenting data in more than one medium, such as combining text, animation, video, graphics, sounds, all into one presentation. If you could think for just a minute and give me an example of a type of presentation software that we use to make presentations. So think about it for just a second. What types of presentation software do we use to create presentations? And if you thought about Google Slides or PowerPoint or Prezi, or Canva. Those are all great examples of presentation software. Purpose of presentations. Typically, there are 3 types of presentations that you would give. One would be educational. Okay, these are used to train, present information, explain procedures, emphasize key points. Persuasive. These are used to advertise or provoke action. And then narrative. Narrative are used to broadcast messages, tell a story, or entertain. So sometimes there are reasons why you would not put information into a presentation. Content is information, basically, that is trivial or without a clear purpose, is not something that you would make a presentation about. Also, information that loses its meaning when translated. And also, content should be preserved in its original form. So sometimes there are reasons why you would not create a presentation. These are reasons why you would not create a presentation about certain types of content. A presentation about how I fell and scraped my knee at the park would be appropriate to put in a presentation. What do you guys think? True or false? And I know you can't mark it, but just think about it. I would say it would be false. If you thought false, then you are correct. It is very trivial, meaning it's not a really good story to put into a PowerPoint or a presentation. What are other things you might not want to create a presentation about? Just think about it. There are probably lots of things you wouldn't put into a presentation. Some things are just better said out loud to someone in conversation. Sometimes it's better to write a letter, or if you can easily talk if you can talk more easily about the topic to someone, then it is probably not appropriate to put in a presentation. Procedure for developing a multimedia presentation. Okay, sometimes when we go to create presentations, we like to just go and bring up Google Slides and start typing stuff in. But there is an actual uh, presentation steps that you would take in order to create a better presentation. Step 1 is to determine the purpose of the presentation. Is it going to be educational? Is it going to be narrative? Is it going to be persuasive? What is the purpose of your presentation? Are you trying to teach someone something? Are you trying to convince someone of something? Or are you trying to just tell a story? Step 2, identify the target audience. The target audience is a group of people that the presentation is created for, okay? So, for example, for you all, a lot of your presentations are probably middle school students or middle school teachers. Step 3 is to storyboard the content, okay? A storyboard is a collection of frames on a piece of paper. It is used to determine the number of slides needed. It is used to organize the content of the presentation. Okay, it is always good to plan out a rough draft on paper. You guys know that. The same thing goes for when you are creating a presentation. Okay, it is always best to plan it out on a piece of paper. Storyboard your content so that you can see what you have, what you need to move around, what you can change, and what's going to go on each slide. So, why is it important to storyboard the content before you start creating a presentation? Well, we just kind of answered that question. It's better to have a plan before you start. So you know how many slides you're going to need, what order the slides are going to be in, what information you're going to put on each slide. Step 4, select a design. This is probably the most fun activity in all of the steps, and that is to select a design. You do want to make sure, though, that your design is appropriate for the purpose of your presentation. So, for example, if you were to use a beach template for a presentation for a youth retreat at Atlantic Beach, that would be appropriate. That makes sense. However, if you were to pick a real cutesy design, and then your presentation topic was more serious matter, that may not be an appropriate design selection. What does it mean to select a design? We just talked about that. Basically, it is when you are selecting how your slides are going to look. Step 5, edit the master slide. This is where you want to consider all of your formatting, your background colors, font sizes, what your bullets are going to look like, if you're going to have bullets, your logos or graphics that might appear on every slide, and your line spacing. It is best to go ahead and set that up at the very beginning before you start your presentation, because if you don't, you're going to create your entire slideshow and they're going to have to go back and change every single slide to format these items. So it is best to do this at the very beginning. We just talked about that. The master slide is where you make all the decisions about what your formatting is going to look like. So your font, your text, your background, your images, things like that. Step 6, enter the content. We have the rule of sevens. There's a little YouTube video here that you guys can watch. I'm not going to click it now because I want you to be able to go in and click it and watch it whenever you can. But basically, the rule of sevens is when you have when you're thinking about creating a slide, no more than 7 words per line and no more than 7 lines per slide. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to take in the information if it's chunked up. So take a look at that video when you get a chance. You are going to want to make sure your language and grammar is appropriate. And it is never good to have spelling errors in a presentation. And then we just talked about what the rule of 7 by 7 is, so go ahead and take a look at that YouTube video if you need to. Actually, that YouTube video is probably good for everyone to watch. Step 7, add and format graphics, audio, and video. Graphics, and we struggle with this at middle school. Graphics need to be used to enhance, not distract from your topic. Oftentimes I have people that will add images to a slide that has nothing to do with what the text on the slide is talking about, and that is distracting. That's not necessarily enhancing your slideshow. And then be consistent when you use graphics. Don't mix cartoons and photographic images. Be consistent with the type of graphic that you choose to use. And then audio and video, if you include audio and video, you need to make sure that the file will play before you obviously try to present it to your target audience. And then you're going to want to determine the volume level beforehand. What are some things you should do when you use graphics in a presentation? So think about that for a second. What are some things that we just talked about when that you should consider when you're using graphics? Some of the things you might have thought about were not mixing cartoons, animated images with like professional photographic images, and then of course choosing images that have to relate to your topic, not necessarily images that are going to distract away from your topic. Step 8, add animation, and transitions. This is optional, but a lot of people do like to do it because it does add visual interest. Animations are the things where your slides can fly in from the left or the right, or scatter in or scatter out, fly around the screen, that kind of thing. That's when you have those items applied to your text too. And transitions control the flow of information. So how the slideshow will flow from slide to slide. Step 9, practice. Practice, practice, practice. You always want to practice the timing and your speech patterns before you present your presentation to an audience. And we just talked about that, so I'm not going to bore you guys with that answer again. Step 10, revise as needed. Repeat steps 4 through 9 to fine-tune your presentation. It can only get better. Okay, and I'm not going to make you do this part right here, but what I am going to do is ask you to complete the exit ticket that is in Canvas below this video in the same assignment. It's just going to be a few questions about this presentation that you listened to. So please make sure you refer to your notes and fill out that exit ticket so you can get credit for this assignment. Thanks, guys, and we are all done for now.